All right, here we go.
Alright guys, Wheat Solo here, aka the Skeleton King. I'm being joined by this loser Canadian guy, and I'm gonna take this opportunity to talk about this intro, which developed over a couple of seasons. The beginning of it is from my Gambling Guide video, where I put Guide's voice over the introduction of Blizzard, and then I slowly added things onto it like Fight Club or Shining, which basically became memes as the seasons progressed. I don't know how. Oh, I know how the Shining came up. It's because I used to spam a lot of GIFs in Necro, and I used to spam myself of the Jack Nicholson character from The Shining going crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, Topwig is going to talk most over this video, and I'm going to let him take the mic.
All right, sweet. Yeah, thanks. So we're just showing here the Poison Strike Necro, and then followed by the Poison Strike Assassin to kind of compare them. So this is just the general first one, what we know, like the Poison Strike Necro. Um, at the beginning, like with Desecrate, Revive, and Poison Strike, like you want to have lots of revives up, but in phase one, I actually don't like to have any revives. I just grabbed some for this phase here just to not die to these stupid ads, but then also just an initial crushing blow. But I don't want too many, which you'll see why in a second. But
I have a question
yeah,
actually. How dangerous are the glomes and dolls in this section? You don't have to pause
okay,
it. I'm sure
okay,
we'll have enough time.
yeah, okay. They are quite dangerous actually. Like I've almost died
Okay.
many times to the dolls and the gloams as well. Like, but if you're paying attention, it's usually fine. But so this is the only time I actually want these guys here is to maybe get a crushing blow. But the issue is the spires. If they hit your revives, they splash, and you can take the splash damage of the spires and get hit by more than one, and that'll kill you.
You
Not
know, the
more than
same
one.
thing
Yeah.
can actually happen in Declone because if any of the projectiles hit something or some of the projectiles, their splash radius actually increases, so it's actually dangerous for you.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So there's things to watch out for. And another thing is here. This is the edge of the arena. So if you dodge a spire, it'll actually explode on the edge and still hit you. So you
One of the
don't.
first times I died in Declone was standing by the wall thinking I was smart and not understanding that the cold Nova projectiles, I was taking two every time because the explosion radius was
Yeah.
that big.
Yeah, people don't think about little things like that, but it's actually kind of huge for these fights, survivability. And I guess the other side here is we're just skipping all the golems phases because Poison Dagger just does actually crazy damage. This was
Can
almost
you
bad.
describe
Yeah.
how skipping the phase works? Because he did one golem phase and then you skipped every other one.
Yeah, basic. Can I actually go back in here? Yeah. So
Yeah,
basically,
sure. Well, why
yeah,
not?
yeah. So basically, where's it? Okay, so the first one comes in at the beginning of the fight. He casts like basically he casts his first golem, right?
Hmm.
Which is the normal phase, and then I'll just skip past that. So now he's at the next health bar here, which is after his first golem phase, and this is the amount of damage it takes for him to start the poison no creeper phase. Basically, he has two more thresholds, one around the E and then one just at the D. Where if he sits on the E, he's going to be going into a golem phase again, and if you get him down to D, he's going to go into a poison creeper phase.
So
But base
basically, by the time he finishes the animation of this, he's already gonna go to the next plague.
exactly, because I'm going to do enough damage here to skip past the E that now he's going to go into the plague. So he's at the D now, so he's going to go back into this one again. And you're just doing the same thing again. So if you can do enough damage to skip basically the golem phases, that happens on many characters, like melee characters, and even Sorks can
And
do
I
it.
believe,
Yeah,
I believe you are set up to survive a sludge, and the sludge is not a dot; it is just a massive amount of poison damage.
yeah. The sludge
Correct?
in the files, it is a poison skill with zero duration. So that's how they coded it. They just put zero duration.
That's funny. I'm surprised that even works.
Yeah, so that was their way to get around it. So it's just zero frame poisons. You just instantly take it. But yeah, I'm basically
And then
like
it's
this is enough to survive a sludge, but you can actually get hit by two of the sludge balls at the same time, and that'll do upwards of 3,000 damage. So I'm
I'm
not a
assuming
yeah,
the sludge hitbox is smaller than like the cold projectiles that declone or the spires cast.
correct. Yeah. So it's not
Yeah.
often that'll happen, but there's a chance that you can get hit by two, which is yeah, frustrating. That's why most people play characters with over 3k life, just because what you eventually you're going to get complacent and you're going to die.
Oh, right. You farm this boss hundreds of times a season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've done over 600. So it's just going to happen. So you're going to get complacent and die. So you just give yourself more than 3k life so you can survive. And this is the easiest phase for Necro by far. You don't even have to dagger. You can pretty much use probably less than like 8 pots if you really wanted to. And you just sit back and desecrate revive. And all
And
the...
I don't know if
Yeah.
somebody noticed, but the amount of damage their summons did when he was still in crushing blow range is insane.
Yeah.
Like they're so useful for the first 33% of a boss's life.
Yeah, exactly. You're crazy not to get them. And those are actually the better. The ones that do crushing blow are the ones that have the most
Woo!
magic
You almost
res.
died.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
So
believe you almost died because of decrepit, which I finally realized is really
yeah.
bad for faster run walk.
Yeah. Yeah, how slow you are here, and then basically, I don't think I get hit by any knights. I think so that spear, he casts it and teleports again, but you can actually listen and hear it, and you can move out of the way. But since I was decrept, I couldn't really move, so I'm gonna get hit by that spear and this spear at the same time, and that's where I
Woo!
dropped down to like
Wow.
almost dying. So you can hear the spears and get out of the way, which is normally what you see me do, but yeah, it can happen.
So I didn't realize how bad decrepit was for actually running. I think it actually might be worse for running than it is for casting, although that's maybe an argument for either side.
Yeah,
But what's weird is if you were budget, you probably die right there, which would
100%.
cost you a lot of money, or which would cost you a lot early in the season.
Yeah, like my gear right now, I have 3 jaws in the helm, I believe, and 2 in the shield, or maybe 3. I forget. I think it's 2 jaws in the shield. That isn't. And I have perfect skillers. So
Right,
it's
but if you were
yeah.
budget, you would have what, like 1,800 life?
Yeah, my number one kill this season I did with 2k. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you'd be
But you
around.
probably had. Did you have worse resistances in any way, or resistances still the same?
Resistance is the same, but like probably half the damage. Because I'm
What
trading
about
off
PLR, by
damage.
the way?
Um, I had no
Did you ever go in
PLR.
the fight?
My
What?
my my
So you were poisoned. So you actually would have died because you would have taken way more damage from the
Yeah.
poison.
Yeah, my number one kill this season, I had 25 PLR just from the boots. That was it. This video, I think I have
That's.
probably
I have a
100.
question.
Yeah.
Isn't PLR one of the most important stats for this fight, or is that not true anymore?
It still is for phase one, I think, but the caveat is you can actually beat phase one on skill, let's say. You can dodge most of the poison abilities.
Oh, so then when you're
Yeah.
going at budget, you
Yeah.
actually, even though there is more poison in the fight, it's worth it more to have more life, etc.,
Yeah.
because you just have the access to skills is so crucial when you're budget.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if you've played the fight enough, you can go ahead with it. And the only thing I will say here is you basically, I kind of screwed up there, but you never want to dagger in this fight because it does so much damage that you're going to spawn Void Knights and Mendel at the same time, which is what's happening here. Luckily, Necro's able to handle that pretty well because the Knights just hit my revives, right? And I got all poison.
But
Uh,
I have a question though.
yeah.
I thought you do poison strike, but you only poison strike Mendel.
You do, but the problem is you can get into situations like I got into here where I went to poison strike him, and then the cloud gets created, and then Rathma teleports, right? And now he's getting hit by the pierced cloud as well.
And whoa! You're saying if you that doesn't make any sense. You're saying the Pierce debuff will affect Rathma here as well? That doesn't
I
make any
I
sense.
don't know if it actually. It seems like it does because if I make a connection here and Rathma comes in, he takes incredible damage.
I think actually, since we're doing this right now, can you try to find a moment when you think he gets hit by a cloud that's not pierced and one that is? Because the amount of time they're green is like noticeable.
Yeah. But we can just see at the beginning. See if so he's gonna come. I mean, I'm pretty much only gonna desecrate. Actually, we can probably watch it in the second half. No, because I'm hitting him directly. Because I try not to actually poison him. So maybe here. So like 4 seconds there. But that's a guessing.
I think they're
Yeah.
poisoned the same amount of time, and you
Yeah.
hit Mendel with
Yeah.
the dagger, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Hold on, let's see. Look at them both. Look at them both.
Well.
Dude, that
Yeah.
lasted forever. I actually think
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
How does that happen? How does the pierce affect the cloud? Is that actually what's supposed to be?
I don't like what I don't know, but what I can say is that's why Venom works in the next video because Venom applies to the cloud.
Whoa.
like when I
My
apply
mind
venom,
is blowing.
yeah, when I apply venom to my character in the assassin video, the cloud actually um, carries the venom because you'll get an AOE, and actually I have basically zero poison strike damage, right? It's all venom damage.
So it's basically the cloud gets cast, and if it happens with a hit, the cloud, just like your poison nova has pierce from your gear, it'll now have the pierce from the skill.
I
That's
think,
very
yeah,
interesting.
I think that's what's happening. Yeah,
Huh. All right, keep going. Keep
but
talking.
the problem is that as you know, poison strike and desecrate, like the clouds are so buggy, it's so hard to like be 100% sure. But that's what
Well,
happened. Yeah,
yeah, and they also have a terrible hitbox.
yeah. So
Like, it's really not good for mapping. If anybody's watching this and wants to do Poison Strike for mapping because of all the buffs apparently it's getting, just remember that Poison Strike in a map environment is way, way worse.
yeah, 100%. And one thing I'll mention here as well is like there is a lot of unfortunate RNG in this fight as well because the knights you get are random. And to an extent, like you either have the fire knights, cold knights, poison knights, or physical knights, and what you get is basically random. But if you ever get 100% poison, you're always going to get 100% poison. But this one I got poison physical, so all 3 rounds I'm going to get poison physical. And physical is definitely the
And
worst, and you could get 100% physical knights only, and that's going to be way harder
and,
to
the,
fight.
and their projectile, just to be clear, their projectile is doing physical damage.
Correct. Yeah, and they can
Yeah.
amp you.
All right, talk about your gear.
Okay,
Talk
so
about. Oh yeah. Wait, hold on. But the amp really doesn't matter unless it is physical knights. But yes,
correct.
if you're
Yeah,
getting physical knights, then the amp matters. So yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So we use black box purely just for the insane damage it gives you on your poison strike. Bramble. There's a good argument to use Venom Ward with a Shaco, because the Pierce is very nice. But if you're using Desecrate, I don't think you need it because you get such high Pierce from your dagger. You get such high Pierce from your dagger anyway. And 86 FHR is actually really important for Knights and the Cold Wave. So I like the Bramble, but
For anyone
yeah,
wondering, real quickly, the reason why saying Pierce isn't important because of Poison Strike, once you increase an enemy's poison length to 100%, Pierce basically loses a lot of value. And depending on the relative ratio between Mastery and Pierce, which is usually lower for Mastery when a Poison Necro because Pierce is so good, then all of a sudden Mastery becomes way better or plus skills.
yep, exactly. And they reduce the res of all the um, like of Rathma and Mendel and all the and like of poison res specifically over the season. So they actually have really low poison res. So like you get that break point quite quickly. For
Well,
example,
I can't remember. I can't. If you remember, talk about it. I can't remember how increasing poison length reduction works with Pierce, but I think it's just minus 100.
yep. But it's half.
Okay,
It
so
is
yeah,
half
so still.
effectively. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Oh no, okay, so the Pierce will lose effectiveness once you drop them below zero, but the PLR, I'm talking about just the amount
Yeah.
they are poisoned, is just 0 to minus 100.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Correct. And basically what's happening is two things. So one, I think, yeah. So Rathma and Mendel have 50 PLR.
And so I think if you take them to zero, it stops increasing the length. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it goes to negative 50. I really don't know this though.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah,
This game's
but
too
yeah,
complicated. 20 years old.
yeah, but they only have 50, so you can reduce it to zero, which is not a lot. And the other thing is Rathma and Mendel have zero poison res, and the Void Knights have 50. The Blood Golems have negative 20, ridiculous, and the Conjuring Souls have 20. So it's all really low poison res.
So, the knights, one of the things about physical knights is, I think you can play some of the video,
Yeah.
is that PDR is really unimportant in this fight unless you roll physical knights, who are one of the only dangerous sources of physical damage. And then the problem is it kind of stacks to where PDR is unimportant, so you can skip the stat. But then if you roll a bunch of physical knights, then suddenly PDR is a lot more important just because of their damage and amp. And then the other thing was, I forgot. You go ahead and talk.
No, no, so that's exactly, and the only reason I can get away with doing like no PDR is because I have revives, and I always bring out 8 revives during the Rathma phases where you do get the Fizz Knights, and I'm just
Now, I
banking
have a
on the
question
fact they're getting
actually.
hit. Yeah.
You did roll Poison Knights with Fizz, and you were poisoned in that one section where you got hit by 2 Bone Spears. How bad is the poison in the fight that is not from Mendel, which is avoidable?
It actually is significant. Like you get poisoned for a very long time by those knights, and I wouldn't say you need to use an antidote on it, but it's a significant damage. Like it's definitely noticeable. It's not like yeah, I wouldn't just antidote those guys, but it's pretty okay. And this is what I'm talking about here. You can see when I stab things, the AOE is killing them, right? If I'm connecting, and if the
Dude,
cloud
there's
did,
just too much shit going on
yeah,
the screen. I don't
yeah,
even know what's killing
yeah,
what.
yeah.
Well, the
But
Poison Nova does no
the
damage now,
poison
which
nova
probably
does no
doesn't.
damage, and basically, if I
Yeah,
stab something somewhere here, like oh, that was a bad example,
sure.
but if I stab here,
That was a bad example.
here, a lot of things died, right? And my poison strike does like 150 damage. It's all venom. So the cloud's actually carrying. The cloud
Oh.
sees. Like, I hit like two, and the cloud killed all of them. That was a good one. You saw that, right? Where it's got a.
Yeah, yeah, right, right, right.
Yeah, they all died.
And
So
literally, the poison strike is doing no damage. The idea behind this build was that the venom would get the buff or the debuff of poison strike. We didn't think that the cloud itself would do more damage.
yeah. So
Um, so one last thing. I, I I think I forgot. So just talk about the assassin. Oh, I do remember now. Is Black Bogs just better? Because you also said Pierce is good, but then kind of loses value. But then there's also Venom instead of Black Bog, so then you could get more Pierce that way.
yeah, I think the trade-off is that just black box are just so good because you get +6 skills on it, plus the 3 sockets. So with the 3
Oh, the
facets in
three
it, yeah,
sockets.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
it,
hard to beat that.
yeah, it's hard to beat. So the issue with the assassin is that she's really good, but the damage is just a little bit less. And like, see, this is a really annoying thing that can happen is that I had poison damage, and Mendeln cast his golems, and then before going immune, he started his next phase because the golem animation is actually very short. Once he casts the golems, that's the end of that animation, whereas the
Right.
poison creeper one's very long. So now I have both phases at the same time, which is pretty scary. But actually, that's the other thing is Dragonflight is so good that it's instantaneous, right? I think you saw that as like
You
completely.
didn't get hit by the sludge. You
Yeah,
didn't get hit by the sludge.
yeah, exactly. I'll just go back just to show what I mean, well, I don't want to do that far back. Okay, whatever. But yeah,
This is just like mirror.
yeah, it's because Dragonflight's almost instant. Is that I see it coming out and I just teleport over to just avoid getting hit entirely because it's
It
instant.
actually looks
Yeah,
like you were still standing there and the cloud was going up.
yeah,
Dude, and your face
yeah,
taking the cold, and it's
yeah,
almost like it's not affecting you.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Dude,
it's
you just got hit by a cold and it didn't do any
well, the
damage,
problem
dude.
is that yeah, some of it's like a little janky. Some of this it's because I don't have claw block or anything, right? But
Did
it's
you did you so how did you take no damage from a cold projectile? I don't even understand.
I think it's just some like desync stuff because I don't think I actually like
Oh, okay.
yeah because you
Yeah,
should
it
take
must
some
be, right?
yeah you should take some damage and here I just did enough poison damage like when he puts the redemption aura it's the same as declone he can't take any new damage but if you poison him or cast open wounds or something like that he still takes that damage while he's immune so that's why I was able to end the fight there without killing the golems because he was
So I have a
yeah
question. Do you think they should remove the souls from this section? Because I think they're a terrible enemy and they're too RNG dependent. And if you're worried about dolls and souls, again, for farmers it doesn't really matter much. But for a new player, I don't think they should have to deal with both enemies at once.
I don't think so either because I've had budget kills where I've had to go through this and like heal so many times from this stupid damage that I use so many rejuves that I actually don't end up having a full inventory once I go into Rathma. And like so
Um, I, be- I believe also is that for most characters, you cannot react to the souls. You have to be preemptively moving because the acceleration time you'll get hit.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so the most people actually usually just put in like if you run in this fight with like farmers it doesn't matter because you're going to have 3k life and you're just going to just tank through it. You don't care. But for budget, yeah, you have to be preemptively going, and I think it's kind of unfair because you're also mostly looking at dolls, and you can get hit by that. Um,
Mm,
one
s-
one thing
I
I
have a
will,
question.
yeah,
Is start talking about why we built this assassin the way we did, because I don't think we really talked about that for much.
In which sense? Like in the it's a skill
As in,
allocation or
where's our damage coming from? Exactly.
yeah, okay. So assassins have Venom, which is their pre-buff ability, which adds poison to your attack. So what we're doing here is we're using Venom Rune Word to give access to the O skill of Poison Strike, and then we are casting the assassin's Venom ability to add poison to our damage. And the reason we want Poison Strike is because Poison Strike, new benefit we didn't know is it casts the Cloud, which is carrying the Venom damage as well, but it also gives Pierce on its ability. So it's giving us free Poison Pierce on it, so we don't have to focus on any additional Poison Pierce in our gear, aside from the Pierce that you get from the Venom Rune Word.
And if anyone's wondering, assassins are already very good at this fight with Cobra Strike, which does more damage and gives you Clawback. But this is kind of a meme build, but possibly it could still work really well with Chaos.
Yes, yeah. If you replaced the Poison Strike with Chaos to get Whirlwind and you apply the Venom there, it should theoretically work better because you get Claw Block again. And the reason you want to play Assassins is because Fade gives you 65 all res, it gives you PDR, okay, that's basically,
And CDR.
and CDR. And so that's crazy. And then you get Claw Block on top of it in most builds. This one we don't, but in Claw Block gives you like 60% chance to dodge an entire ability. And this is in this Rathma fight, which is in Declone it matters less, but in Rathma it's huge because that's all your damage comes from these singular attacks that come out. It's not like continuous AoE. So
Thing about Claw Block is, although nerfs the Claw Block very much affect PvP, in most mapping or bossing situations, you don't need Claw Block to have a frame delay to when it's active again. Mapping, arguably, you need it more often, but
yeah,
like for Rathma, you only need Claw Block to proc what, once every like second?
yeah, like at maximum, not even that often
Right.
usually.
Unless you're playing really, really badly, which of course you can because Claw Block is that good.
Yeah, yeah. It honestly is like the best assassin builds are anything that you can use 40 points for claw block and fade. Because with fade, it means you don't need any res in your gear, so you can focus on damage or health or whatever. So that's why we have 2.9k. I will touch that I added 20 points since I had leftover points since I didn't have claw block. I put it in Shadow Master purely to just take aggro from Rathma and the Void Knights. I didn't know if it was going to work, but it basically did work. But that's kind of
And
the
then
idea there.
the coolest thing about Venom is, although it doesn't do nearly as much damage as Poison Strike, it also has a very small duration. So it actually does a lot of damage in that small time frame, which is why switching to Whirlwind could actually make the damage go way up, and will still be just as safe playing an Assassin.
Yep, exactly. So it is a bit misleading here because Venom does over zero point 0.4 seconds, but I am using Poison Strike, which has its own poison ability as well, over 2 seconds. So that's why you see them poisoned for longer because it's kind of two poisons that are going off. It's Diablo and poison is kind of a nightmare, to be honest, to understand. Cause
And yeah, basically every time he attacks, he will overwrite the damage. I think even if he rolled terribly, there's no way, even the frames between attacks, there's no way you would roll low enough not to overwrite the poison damage.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I mean, probably.
yeah. And this is another issue we can get. I think happens in this one, does it? Yeah. So I did poison damage to Rat, and he spawned Void Knights, but the poison kept ticking because I hit him too many times, and I actually got both Void Knight phases at the same time. So that's why you see there's like 12 Knights over in the corner there, which for many builds this would probably kill you. So I'm basically just trying to kite them out with the Shadow Master until I can jump in and create a poison cloud. But you saw there a couple hits and the cloud kind of got rid of most of them. So
Right. What's weird is that when you look at this build compared to Poison Strike Necro, this one is way tankier. You could argue both fights go bad.
yeah,
Do you think you could match the kill speed of a Necromancer having played this build now one time? Because this is your first time
yeah.
playing this build.
This is the first time ever playing it. I think yes, and my Necro is, I would say, let's say
Better here.
99% BIS, and this I'm using a one
Right.
socket on the shield. I have I have plain poison large charms. Like there's a lot of
Oh, so
yeah
you could get even more life, which
yeah
means you could play even stupider.
yeah. I could easily have probably 3.2 to K life, 3.3. So
Yeah.
that's like in the gear I can have more damage. There's it's and I had not played this like you said, so it was my first time ever, so I was probably not doing things as well as I could have.
Do you have any gear with attack rating corruptions? Because I think with Poison Strike, adding AR to a build to a class that already has a lot of AR, you could probably have more cores for damage too.
Yeah, I probably could. Like, there's not much I can do here. That amulet's really good, so I wouldn't change that
That
one.
amulet's disgusting.
Yeah, that's my Cobra Sin amulet. But the shield, I have a 4/4 facet in there, so I'm missing, six and six, right? So I could be
Yeah.
quite a lot there. And then the boots are nice. I wouldn't change the boots. AR, I can get higher AR there.
Like you don't need, yeah, but
Yeah.
you don't even need AR in your rings. Is there some other core you could get that would help you do damage in another way?
Um, Probably what I can do is if I had all res on my rings, both rings hit all res, and my belt I have IAS, which I probably don't need for the breakpoint.
Exactly.
I can change that to maybe an all res or a max res, depending to get more tanky. And you can see is I have a bunch of small charms.
Oh, you have a
Yeah,
bunch of small charms for
yeah,
res, so you could
yeah,
drop those and get even more poison damage. So we're
yeah,
literally talking about 4, 8, 10, 12, 18, like maybe 20% damage and 20%, well, not 20% pierce, like
yeah,
20% damage and like 6% pierce.
yeah, exactly. And let me try to get this. Can I get this away? Doesn't want to go. Oh my God.
What are you
Okay.
trying to do? What are you trying to do?
I wanted just to show the video, like to show the damage. Yeah, so I actually see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you can't actually see with at my pause screen. But yeah, so you see here, it's only there's 206 damages in my poison cloud technically.
Right. The rest is all coming from Venom. So the cloud should do like
Yeah,
literally zero to these enemies, and clearly it's doing more than zero.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
actually super sick. It's a cool build.
Yeah, definitely super cool. So I mean, I'd like to experiment a little bit more with it, but yeah, let's see.
All right. Well, Skelly King out. GG, guys.